Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ومصطفاه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. Dear viewers everywhere, welcome to the 45th episode of Ask Huda, dedicated to answer your questions which you post on our Facebook page. Before we begin with the new questions, there was an unanswered question. I deliberately postponed its answer to investigate it furthermore. With regards to Muhammad Yunus' question that whether the bank or the credit card company, whenever they give like 2% cash back on credit cards or in saving accounts and so on. First of all, I would like to confirm it is not permissible to deposit your money in a saving account in a conventional bank or deal with a conventional bank on the basis of riba unless if there is no other alternative and with conditions that the interest which is generated on your money in the saving account, for instance, you're not allowed to benefit out of it because that is called riba. And as we have studied before repeatedly, there are many ayat in the Quran and ahadith in which riba is considered the worst sin and the most destructive, of course, after shirk. May Allah protect all of us. Because of that, brothers and sisters, if the person does not have any alternative as far as Islamic firm, Islamic banking system, or a place to save or deposit or invest his money in halal, he will be allowed due to the necessity to keep his or her money in the conventional bank. The money which is generated as a result of that is called interest or fa'ida, should be collected, not left to the bank, and it should be given away. And in this case, the person got rid of the sin of earning riba. He's not allowed to utilize this interest for any personal use, not even to settle or pay off his taxes, or for instance, if he got a traffic violation, so he pays off the ticket or the violation from the interest money which is generated on his saving in a conventional bank. This is just for further clarification. Now, why is it haram when I deposit my money somewhere in a saving account, for instance, or in a credit card company that on my spending, if they give me a gift 2% more or less? The question was about 2%. Why is it haram? Number one, because it is not permissible for the creditor to collect any benefit, not even a gift, from the debtor. كل قرض جر نفعا فهو ربا. Because based on that, people can just pay the interest and give it different names. Like the creditor will give a loan to the debtor who is in need, and he expects from him to buy him this and that, or to pay him that much, and he will just call it a gift. Now, with the fact that this is not just a gift, it's also a percentage, 2%, that makes it officially haram. Any benefit that will be collected as a result of giving your money to somebody is considered interest. Now, are you a creditor? Yes, of course. When I give my money to the bank, don't you think you're saving your money and it's sitting somewhere not being used? No, you're a creditor. That's why many banks competing with each other, they actually give you a bonus, cash back, a free checking account, a free saving account. There is no monthly fee, whatever. Why? Because they want your money. The main job of the banks is to borrow and lend with interest. Accordingly, any amount of cash back or gifts which will be collected by the creditor, which is you who saved or invested your money in this conventional bank is absolutely haram. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what is best. And now with the following question, Brother Abdul Rashid Kayungat. Brother Abdul Rashid says, Christian missionaries in Malaysia use the word Allah in their missionary activities. This causes confusion to Muslims and Christians. Do you think that this is wrong or right? This issue is not a simple matter to be answered in one word, yes or no. Basically, number one, we have to understand the meaning of the word Allah, and we studied in the course of Aqidah and many programs. The word Allah is the proper noun of the only true God who is worthy of worship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why in Surah Al-Ikhlas, which is equivalent to 1/3 of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Not wahid, ahad. Say that Allah is the only one. He is the only creator, He is the only sustainer, He is the only provider, He is the only king. He is the only possessor of all domain, and He is the only one who is worthy of worship. And the following traits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come in the following ayat. Allahu as-Samad. Then He begets not, nor was He begotten, and no one is ever equivalent to Him. So that means the proper noun Allah does not apply to any false deity. Rather, the word Rabb, which means Lord in English, or God, may be used to describe Allah, or to describe a family father, or to describe a lord, a position, or to describe a king, or to describe a false deity, which many people worship instead of Allah or along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in fact, the word Allah is exclusively for the only one who is worthy of worship. Some Arab Christians, they recognize their God by the name Allah as well, because they have been living amongst Muslims and so on. And they have been influenced by the Arabic language, so they use the word Allah. But it does not, in this case, refer to the true God. Yesterday, I believe, I saw a minivan, and on the rear window, somebody adhered this sticker which says, the son of the king, or the king's son. He said literally, in Arabic, the son of the king, then beneath it in English, Jesus. Then on a side, Allah, in Arabic. So I figured this is a confusing signal. Allah is not Jesus, nor is He the father of Jesus. Jesus in Islam does not have a father. He was born miraculously, fatherless, as we all know. So it would be best for them to use whichever name they normally use. If people use this name, like the Arab have used the word Allah before, okay? So if they were using this word, and it is common in their religion, we cannot ban them from using it. But it does not describe the true God who is worthy of worship. Look at the order in Surah An-Nas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in order to explain the difference between the word God, Lord, Rabb, and Allah. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Look at the elevation and the gradual process of seeking help from the Lord, the King, and He is the only one who is worthy of worship. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind. Yani the Creator, the Sustainer, then Malik al-Nas, the owner and the King of people. Then Ilah al-Nas, the only true God who is worthy of worship. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if it was common that people use this word, no problem. But if it has been proven, as of course we were all aware in Malaysia a couple of years ago, this problem emerged when the Christian missionaries, especially in one of their popular magazines, started using the word Allah. If it is not common, they don't use it. But now they're using this word for a political or a propaganda reason to confuse the laymen, the ordinary people who do not know the difference, and they think that they are preaching to Islam. In this case, we have to intervene. But generally speaking, if non-Muslims are using this word before Islam, and it is common in their society, they call him Allah, we cannot ask them not to use the word Allah. But we can say one thing, which is, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُّمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. I do not worship that which you do worship, nor do you worship that which I do worship. لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد. And monotheism means only one true God, not more than one. So that is simply the concept of using the word Allah and what it means, and whether missionaries are allowed to use it or not. If it has been proven that in a Muslim country they use this word in order to confuse ordinary people, then we have to put a stop to that. Once I was in the hospital, and it was an American hospital in a Muslim country. Simply because the doctor admitted me to this hospital. And I later on found out such hospitals and universities are missionary institutes. They have the mission of propagating Christianity and so on. In any case, one lady wearing full hijab walked into the room. I thought she's a nurse, and she's an old lady, and she started giving me words of patience, and that you'll be rewarded, and God loves you, and for being tested with a disease. I couldn't but agree, and I was quiet until she started admitting the poison in the honey. And she shifted from talking about God, God, God to Jesus. I said, ma'am, thank you so much. I will appreciate if you stop and just leave the room. I'm a Muslim. I know who's Allah. I'm not in need for you to help me to recognize who's Allah. Allah is one, and Jesus is not his son, etc. These guys are very organized and very dedicated. They take things gradually. So if they figure out that you are a naive, you are an ordinary person, they will talk to you in general about God and mercy and forgiveness, blah, blah, blah. Then they confuse the issues. No, God is not the one whom you're referring to. لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد. بارك الله فيكم. Thank you. The following question is from Muhammad Ali Umar. Brother Muhammad says, please make dua for me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family and fulfill your lawful needs. Brother Ahmad Ali. Ahmad Ali says in his question, if the Imam goes to ruku' before I finish reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, what should I do? First of all, if you happen to join the Imam late, after he started the recitation, and that's why when the Imam went for ruku', you couldn't finish Surah Al-Fatiha, you're exempt because you came late. You just joined the Imam after making Takbiratul Ihram, then make another takbir for ruku', and that will count as a complete rak'ah for you. Then, if you are praying with the Imam from the beginning, if the Imam is reciting out loud and finish the recitation and he's leaving a pause, go ahead and recite Surah Al-Fatiha. But if the Imam is known that he does not even give you a chance to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, there is a big difference of opinion between the scholars whether you should recite or you should be quiet. So if you did not recite Surah Al-Fatiha in this case, your prayer is still valid. There are some scholars which I discussed in details in the program of the Prophet's prayer who require that you should recite it even if the Imam is reciting the other surah out loud. What if it is a silent prayer? It is not literally silent, rather quiet. The Imam is reciting quietly, such as in Dhuhr, in Asr, and in the third rak'ah of Maghrib, or third and fourth for Isha, for instance. You should recite Surah Al-Fatiha on your own, since you do not hear the Imam. The Imam is not giving me a chance because his prayer is too fast. If the Imam's prayer is too fast to the extent that no one is capable to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, then everyone should pray on their own, because his prayer is incomplete. But normally that doesn't happen. What happens is the Imam is reciting in a regular rhythm, where most average people are able to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, but somebody is taking his time. So he's late. In this case, you should speed up in order to finish Surah Al-Fatiha and join the Imam in ruku', because it's your fault, it is not the Imam's fault. The Imam is reciting regularly. The person who's praying as a ma'moom should adjust his recitation and the rhythm of his recitation according to the Imam. So if the Imam is speeding up, as long as it is not to the extent where you can even recite Surah Al-Fatiha fastly. Because there are some people, the Prophet ﷺ forbade the picking of a rooster. What does it mean? When the person is moving his head up and down, swiftly make a ruku' and sujood and coming up and sitting down, like the rooster picking the grains. This prayer does not even count. But if the Imam and most of the ma'mumeen, the followers, were capable to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, then you should recite it, speed up to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, then join the Imam in ruku'. Dr. Salahuddin Sharif says in his question, is pyramid or networking structured business permissible? Basically, you're asking about the pyramid marketing scheme. And of course, we did answer this question before. And the conclusion, because in the previous answer, we explained in very detail why is it prohibited. In brief, this kind of marketing or business is haram due to several reasons. One of them is al-gharar, or deception. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade any gharar in business transaction. In addition to that, we proved it included gambling, and the person does not buy the product because he's interested to buy it or to sell it. Simply he is buying it only for one reason, in order to be capable to recruit others and others and others, because he is beneficiary. So rather it should be called a scam, not a scheme. And in addition to it, has been banned in many countries, and some big companies in America itself were banned. Because of that, we should avoid this kind of transaction. Recently in Egypt, they have arrested many people, some big shots, who have made plenty of wealth from this scheme, the pyramid marketing scheme, recruiting people and giving them promises. Basically, in this scheme, minority of people will keep getting richer and richer and richer, while the vast majority may lose and lose and lose. The following question from Sister Asia Nilia Silga. Asia Silga says in her question, I can't read Arabic, so I read the Quran in English. Is it okay? In Arabic we say ما لا يدرك كله لا يترك جله. Whatever you cannot achieve as a whole, at least achieve some of it. So basically, in order to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via reading His word, if you don't know Arabic, it doesn't mean that you should not try to read it or understand it in any other language. Whenever Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent letters to the kings, to the rulers of other empires and societies, there was interpreters to translate to them the word of the Prophet ﷺ. They did not wait until they learned Arabic. So there will be two parallel means to achieve comprehending the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. Number one, innocently read it in your mother tongue. Read the meaning of this message in your mother tongue. Number two, work on learning the basic Arabic, which will make you able to read it. And also with regards to the meaning of this ayat, there have been many translations to some of the best tafasir. Tafasir is plural of tafsir, which is the interpretation of the Quran. Such as, for instance, the abridged tafsir of Ibn Kathir is now available in English. And since you sent to us a question in English, I would highly recommend for you to get a free copy if you want to. It has been published by Darus Salam Publication, and I pray for these guys that they have made this tremendous effort to make it affordable and easy for English speakers to understand the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the tafsir of Ibn Kathir in 10 volumes. And it is available as well in their online store, and it's available for free online if you'd like to download it, so that you understand the meaning of what you're reading. Along with, there are many programs, online and distant learning programs to learn Arabic. I was so happy and pleased to see some families in Japan, the other part of the world. Japanese reverts, يعني, they were not exposed to Arabic or any other civilization other than theirs. Yet, their kids memorize Quran, study the Quran in Arabic. How? On Skype. Some teachers whom they have never met in their life, they teach them distant learning and tutoring via Skype and other means of social media and so on. So it's very much affordable. If you attend 15 minutes every day, I promise you, between 6 months to a year, you'll be able to read the Quran perfectly, inshallah. Let's take a short break, and inshallah Azza Jal will be back. Stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. You're not giving it to him because he has black eyes or blue eyes. You're giving it to him because of his position. And that is why you're giving it to this particular department's head rather than giving it to the HR GM, for example. Nobody gives the HR GM anything because they don't want anything from him until they want a job. Therefore, this is the way you can judge whether it's a bribe or not. To get into a halal transaction, first of all, the bank or the financial institution should acquire and own this apartment before any commitment.
Reading the Quran is a blessing. Understanding its translation is beautiful. But diving in depth and extracting pearls from it is simply amazing. Do they not ponder upon the Quran? Every week, inshallah, we will dig deep and reflect on the verses of the Quran one by one.
Quran in Depth with Sheikh Ibrahim Zaidan, only on Huda TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. The following question is from Diba Muhammad from Gambia. Diba says, unfortunately, the government here has decided to stop following the days of Eid according to Mecca, as we did in the past. As a result, we have people celebrating Eid on 2 different days. Please advise us. It is unfortunate to see the same Muslim community celebrating Eid or beginning Ramadan on different days. Not necessarily because they are either following Mecca or not following Mecca, because this is not the concern. If the community have chosen one of the 2 fiqh opinions, 2 valid fiqh opinions, for instance, اختلاف المطالع, that we are an independent country and would like to sight the moon on our own, so if we get to see the crescent, we'll fast. If we get to see the crescent, we'll celebrate Eid. If we don't, then we'll continue Ramadan 30 days, or we will not fast tomorrow if it is the end of Sha'ban and the beginning of Ramadan and so on. This is 100% valid, and that will unite the community. But if it is simply that we're not following any Muslim country, and meanwhile we're not even getting to sight the moon, and rather we'll do some calculations, that is refused. That is refused. So, the other opinion is Wahdatul Matali'. And Wahdatul Matali' does not concern Mecca only. Rather, it concerns the whole Muslim world. So, if the moon was sighted in Pakistan, and it was not sighted in Mecca, according to the opinion, the very valid opinion of the unity of what? There is only one moon, and once it is born anywhere, that means it is the beginning of the new lunar month, so it should be followed. That's called the unity of al-Matali'. Once some country and some locality and some Muslim just people were able to see the crescent, that is sufficient. This is a perfect view, but who can apply it? No country actually adopts this view, which means if the crescent is seen anywhere by Muslims, then that's it. That's a sufficient confirmation of the beginning of the month. Not only according to Mecca, but rather the people in Mecca, the people in Medina, if they could not see it because it was foggy, and while the people in Egypt, in Sudan, in Pakistan, in India were capable to sight the crescent, then according to Wahdat al-Matali', all of us should fast. It is sufficient because it has been witnessed. But no one is actually following this. Okay? So if in your society in Gambia there is the Muslim Association or the Ministry of Awqaf or those who are in charge of handling the Muslims' affairs, and they do their job of investigating the moon and they are trustworthy people, then you should follow them. No problem. Whether they follow Mecca or they do not follow Mecca, it should be sufficient as long as they're trustworthy people. Okay, that is the bottom line. This confusion is happening due to lack of trust, and secondly, whenever politics intervenes in religion. Politicians keep saying that there should not be any religion in politics. Please apply what you say to yourselves. Stay away from your religion. Leave the religion alone, not leave it and become non-Muslims. I do not mean that. If you are not educated in the deen, do not volunteer to impose your nonsense views in the religious commandments, in the religious ahkam. Rather, let the scholars manage this business. But, subhanAllah, for a reason or another, the ummah keeps getting divided furthermore to the point that within the same community and within the same household in New Jersey, for instance, in Houston, Texas, in Florida, you see some family members, same household, some people are celebrating Eid here and some people celebrating Eid the next day and so on. And this is really sad. May Allah guide us what is best. Hasib Ahmad says in his question, how can there be 73 sects if being in a sect in the first place is permissible? Ahmad, let me quote the hadith which is narrated by Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. And the hadith is collected by Imam Ahmad, Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, and others. This hadith is actually one of the miracles of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he has prophesied many facts which are coming true by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has been informed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about certain unseen events which keep evolving. Like the fact that at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslim Ummah was one unit. We united Arab and non-Arab, white and black, masters and servants. They could not imagine that one day this Ummah will be ununited. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam began by saying in this hadith that the Jews were divided into 71 sects. And the Christians have been divided into 72 sects. And my Ummah will eventually divide into 73 sects. Did you read the last segment of the hadith? The last segment answers your question. It says, all of them are in hell or will be in hell except for one group. This group, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not give it a name, did not call it a party. Rather, he said, when he mentioned their traits, he said, those who will be following whatever me and my companions are following today. So basically, if you are an individual or a small family living somewhere, anywhere in the world, could belong to this group because it doesn't have a name, right? Rather, they're called the mainstream of the Ummah. How? By strictly following the hadi and the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Any people who come and say our group and our party is the only saved party, they're required to show me a proof. The saved party, the saved group, as the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned in the hadith, in their quality, strictly following the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his companions. So it could be a group in this village, it could be a whole country, it could be an individual who's living somewhere and he's the only practicing person. Besides that, there has been many groups who deviated, and the deviation is not in the practices. So when we call Al-Khawarij, Ismailis, Baha'is and Qadianis, we do not call them different groups because they have different type of worship. No, not because they differ in how they offer the prayer. No, rather they differ in the concept of belief, in the concept of aqidah, which is the main differences between Muslims and all non-Muslims, Jews, Christians, and otherwise. A sect which denied one of the articles of faith, which is Al-Qadr. You know, in the 6th article of faith, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, وَأَن تُؤْمَنَ بِالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ, to believe in the preordainment, whether it's good or bad. So one group said, no, whatever we do, we have no choice. We're only doing what Allah has ordered us to do. We're obliged to do it, and we did not have a choice. So they call an adulterer not blameworthy. Why? Because he fulfilled whatever Allah ordered him to do. So this is how they understood Al-Qadr. This sect is called Al-Jabriya. Al-Jabriya. We're forced. So we are like the rest of the objects, like the rest of the creatures, I mean animals, cattle. We have no choice. The angels have no choice. So they denied the concept of giving Al-Insan the free choice. They deviated. On the contrary, with the same subject, belief in the preordainment and the divine destiny, another sect went on the other extreme and they said, no, we're entirely responsible for our actions. God have nothing to do with it. He did not even have any idea about it before we did it. So It is our earning and we're entirely responsible. God did not even know it before it was done by us. So they were called a different name, Al-Qadariyya, and accordingly they deviated. In between, to keep balance, that human beings were given the free choice to do whatever they do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. He has given al-insan, mankind, the guidance, showed him the two ways, the right and the bad. It's your choice, and according to your choice, you will bear the consequence. Meanwhile, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and what we do. And in His infinite knowledge, He knew what we will be doing before even we were created, and accordingly He stated that in a book with Him. And so many differences in the belief. In the Aqidah, I just give you a glimpse over one thing, which deviated people. People who believe that there will be a prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Deviant. They don't believe in Islam. Because Islam is, the concept of Iman is indivisible. 6 articles of faith. You take them all, or you do not believe in Islam. It is as simple as that. So, لَيْسَ بَعْدَ الْكُفْرِ ذَنْبٍ. When the Prophet ﷺ said they're all deviant, except those who will hold fast on the teachings of Allah and His Messenger and the footsteps of the companions and our predecessors. The hadith is perfectly understood. Those who deviated, you're saying that it's not permissible to have a sect or to form a sect. They are already non-Muslims, as the Prophet ﷺ said. Barakallahu feek. The following question is, Dur Perpashi from Australia. The questioner says, is it permissible for the Imam to recite poetry in the Friday sermon? It depends what kind of poetry. If you're reciting some of the poetry for Abdullah ibn Rawaha, اللهم لولا أنت ما اهتدينا ولا صدقنا ولا صلينا فأنزلا سكينة علينا. These phrases or poetry have been recited in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he approved it, and he prayed for the person who made them while they were digging the trench. Or by Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, تزود من التقوى فإنك لا تدري. This is perfectly fine. Or Hassan ibn Thabit, يعني poetry that invites to tawheed, invites to good manners, to righteousness, perfect. Somebody would say, would a khatib or an imam recite a poetry or sing a song of love, or affection, or whatever? Yeah. There are some people in America who did that, so that is absolutely forbidden. They have used some of the songs of wicked singers as references in Khutbatul Jum'ah. It's not permissible to use that, whether in the khutbah or otherwise. Okay? But if the speaker is utilizing the poetry in order to support his da'wah to righteousness, to goodness, to good manners, to tawheed, perfectly fine. That is permissible and has been used by the companions as well. Abu Bakr Ibrahim, in his question, he says, is alcohol itself impure? Is alcohol impure? To answer this question, we want to read the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala absolutely forbade the consumption of al-khamr, which is alcohol or any alcohol-based beverages, any intoxicant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'idah in ayah number 90, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. In this ayah number 90 of Surah Al-Ma'idah, several items have been absolutely prohibited. Number one was khamr, but it was not only khamr, which is any intoxicant or just alcohol. Al-maisir, gambling. Al-ansab, the stones which they worshipped instead of Allah. Al-azlam, drawing arrows to make decisions. This is all of the evil work of Satan, so you must avoid it in order to be successful. The word rijs, does it apply to the physical impurity of these items? Well, if this is the case, then the money which is used in gambling is also impure. يعني إيه؟ يعني if you hold it by your hands, you have to wash off your hands and you have to make wudu because it's impurity. When you examine the rest of the items in the ayah, you find their impurity is not physical, rather it is the moral impurity. And that applies to the khamr too. This is in one of the two well-respected views. Many scholars are of the view that al-khamr, alcohol, is not physically impure. It is impure to drink. It is impure to sell, to buy, to invest in, and so on. Because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْخَمْرَ, may Allah curse alcohol, and He cursed 10 people who would be involved either directly or indirectly in it. But when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered the companions to cease from drinking, he did not also order them to break their vessels or utensils in which they used to drink khamr or alcohol, which the scholars who adopted the view that the impurity is rather moral, not physical, use as a reference. Okay? So this is a very well-respected view that the impurity is not physical. Okay? Keep in mind, there is another view which says, yes, so according to the later view, even wearing alcohol-based perfumes is haram because it's impure, najis, and you will not be able to pray along with. I follow the view of Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on him, in this regard, where he adopted the view that the impurity of alcohol is rather moral, not physical. Barakallah fiqh. Meanwhile, by the end of his statement, he also said that whenever it comes to doubtful matters, it's better to avoid it, especially whenever there is no desperate need to use it. Rauda from Canada. Rauda says, is it permissible to help my non-Muslim co-workers hang Christmas and Halloween ornaments? No, it is not permissible. The proof is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, in the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Do not cooperate in doing sins and transgression. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, and fear Allah and keep your duty to Allah, because most surely Allah is severe in punishment. So we have to understand that it is not permissible to help anyone who's doing haram in his or her doing, not even by the word. Rather, we're supposed to do the opposite. Preach, inspire, enjoin what's right, and forbid what is evil. Now, Abu Dawood Jalu, his question is, we have a Supreme Islamic Council that sets the days of Eid. Again, a Eid issue. The people and other scholars disagree with them, creating a lot of confusion. Please advise. My previous answer to the brother from Uganda, brother from Gambia, brother Diba Muhammad from Gambia, applies here as well. I don't have to repeat the answer. Sister Khadija. Wow. Well, I do have to read the question. Sister Khadija says, my husband said I'm not allowed to smoke, and if I did smoke I would be automatically divorced, whether he saw me or not. Is this valid? Which one exactly is valid? To which point that you're referring? To smoking, or to obeying your husband, or to divorce, whether it be valid or not if you still smoke? With regards to smoking, it's haram. And for a sister too, it's hard to believe that a sister would consider smoking is permissible. And you know that the great harm that smoking causes to the babies, the fetus, and the children at home. You know, I have seen some babies who have been malformed due to smoking mothers. So you are causing a serious crime by smoking, in addition to hurting your own self. And we've discussed the prohibition of smoking repeatedly before. So when your husband is actually asking you not to smoke, he's absolutely right, and he has a very valid point. Okay? In this point, at least which you consulted us in its regard. And now with regards to his threat that if you smoke, you will be automatically divorced, whether he saw you or not. Then if you smoke, you're divorced. And by the way, that has nothing to do with whether smoking is permissible or prohibited. If a husband says to his wife, since he has the power of divorce, if you drink Coke, you're divorced, and she drinks Coke, then she's divorced. That's called al-talaq al-mu'allaq. It's a divorce contingent on a condition. If the condition is fulfilled, or the act is being committed, then divorce is effective and valid 100%. So my advice to you, do not link between smoking or non-smoking and divorce. Rather, you should quit smoking right away, and you will feel much better, inshallah. Not just health-wise and saving some bucks that you're wasting and destroying yourself, rather, but because also pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, if you leave anything for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it you with what is better, of course. Salim Hussein, what is the cure for black magic? Also, okay, we barely have time to answer this question. I will try to wrap it up quickly. The best cure for black magic or magic in general, if it is confirmed that you have been affected by a magical spell or even by an evil eye, more or less, is simply by reciting the ayat of the Quran, which are dedicated to seek refuge with Allah against magicians, sorcerers, and enviers. Yani, the three qawaqil, which is قل 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 هو الله أحد قل أعوذ برب الفلق and قل أعوذ برب الناس also are known as al-mu'awwidhat, because we say أعوذ أعوذ. Okay? Al-mu'awwidhatayn refers to قل أعوذ برب الفلق and قل أعوذ برب الناس. Ayatul Kursi, frequently recite them, especially with al-mu'awwidhat. You collect your palms, you recite them thrice, and you blow lightly like that, and you wipe with your hands over your head. Also, it has been advised and approved to recite the ayat pertaining to sihr of Surah Al-A'raf. These ayat from 118 to 121. Pertaining the sorcerers at the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. If you have a vessel full of water and you recite these ayat, or have somebody recite them for you, and you actually shower with the water which you recited these ayat upon, that's also prescribed. فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا قَالَ مُوسَى مَا جِئْتُمْ بِهِ السِّحْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَيُبْطِلُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُصْلِحُ عَمَلَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. This is ayah number 118 and the following ayat. Also the ayat of السحر of Surah Al-Baqarah. وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. The ayat pertaining to the story of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam and Harut and Marut. Also, it is advised to collect 7 leaves, green leaves, from waraq al-sidr, or the lot tree, and it's also known medically as Ziziphus tree. Collect 7 leaves, grind them, and dissolve them in water, and you can drink 3 times from the water, and you make wudu or ghusl from this water. It will be also very helpful in undoing the magical spell by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. I advise myself and all the brothers and sisters to stick and adhere to reciting the adhkar of the morning and in the evening, as they are the best means when it comes to protection and prevention of any magical spells or evil eyes and so on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what's best. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance.